We are live. Welcome to You Got the Vocab, the podcast for leaders, for founders, and for my favorite people in the world, entrepreneurs. Today it's a special episode because it's live on Instagram, and this is my podcast in English that you can find on Spotify. And we are going to invite a guest today. It's a special guest, public speaking coach in English, because I want to help you to switch from your mother tongue to English and scale to other markets. Magda is an expert in Soul Business Masters program that you can subscribe to still today. She's going to help us find the story of our brand. She's going to help the participants of this program, amazing experts in their domain, find their story in English or in Polish. So don't you worry if you don't speak English. It's a class in Polish too. But today I wanted to invite Magda for this podcast because a lot of you who are non-English speakers are afraid to speak in English, as maybe I was a long time ago. No, actually, I wasn't never afraid to speak English. But hey, this podcast is for you, and I know you want to scale to other markets. You want to show yourself in English. You want to speak in English, and actually, it's a very good choice because it opens the doors to many new opportunities and amazing people also. So today I want to talk about what blocks us, what blocks you from scaling, from moving from your mother tongue to English. And I'm going to invite Magda already. I hope you can hear me well. Let me know. Welcome everybody. Violetta, Lucia, Anula. Hi Magda.
Hi.
Can you hear me well? Everything is fine?
Yes.
Microphone? Is the mic on?
Is it?
Magda, I will not introduce you because people can Google you. Magdalena Korzynietz. And I have found that in podcast, people really don't care. They will Google if they are interested and they will find you. What they are interested in is really the topic, and you are an expert in the topic. You are a Polish, Polish speaker, a native speaker, and you speak many languages, Spanish, German, English, any other that I have not mentioned?
And
No.
Polish.
And Polish. And you have leaders to scale to new markets. You have this. You have also your Instagram in English, and you used to have your Instagram in Spanish. I wanted to ask you what was the feeling you had when you started speaking English on Instagram instead of your mother tongue? Was it a switch, or you always spoke a foreign language on Instagram?
Mm-hmm. So my story is slightly different because when I started my I kept switching between languages, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There were many reasons for it. Like, to be honest, for today, I feel the most confident when doing business in English, but it doesn't mean I feel the most confident when for example, I have my friends in English here, and then I stumble upon vocabulary I don't remember anymore. But my topic was switching from, because I used to be an English teacher, so I switched from being just a teacher who, by the way, I learned English when I didn't learn at school. I was a long, cold, and talented person in languages. But I stopped teaching English, teacher, and I explained to you, and I started to use English professionally, internationally as a consultant. This is when I realized that despite all the knowledge, I felt like I have no right to work internationally. And that little girl that from Poland kind of woke up and was shouting at me, "What are you doing?" basically. So the fear that I had again when I switched from, actually when I switched from, when I started my English, first my account was in English. I still had a fear what my colleagues would say. Am I professional enough for my colleagues to hear me in English doing my own thing? I left my professional consulting, world, and I started to build my own thing. And at the same time, I was afraid, what will my friends think? What will my village think? Who are you? Magda from Ruda Talupska, and you are building here something in English? So the fears were coming from different places. But the biggest fear, all of it, was uh, will I be rejected? The fear of rejection was the underlying fear.
Fear of rejection from whom exactly?
Exactly. From,
Whom?
as I said, from colleagues, from my friends. Generally, when you switch to English, you switch the audience. Audience can be global.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are literally standing on a different stage, and you are not, especially when it's your own brand. There is no rule. There is no like, we are this company and this is what we do. And like, you are this company and this is what you do. And there is no one to protect you kind of from how people see you, how you see yourself, first of all.
So what happened next? Okay, so you had this fear. This is something that everybody has. I had this fear in Polish, but this is a different story
Yeah.
because I came back and I spoke only English, and then I had to. People were asking me to speak Polish, and I was afraid that I will lose people who speak English. So I
Yeah.
think that there is this big fear that you are going to lose your clients, and that you are going to offend somebody, that you're gonna omit somebody. But in branding, in the market, you have to think, okay, whom do I want to serve now? And I wonder what happened next. What happened with you? How did you lose the fear of speaking English
Yes,
on
that's
camera?
a very good point, Anya, because I had so many stories, but I started, from Germany in English. Then I moved to Spain. And I was like, okay, let's focus on Spain. So I had account in Spanish. And then I was like, no, let's focus on Polish woman. And I focused on Polish woman, but speaking in English. Then I switched to Polish. So the fear of losing your audience. So just from here, you could, analyze it like, yes, I was chasing my clients.
Chasing which one?
It depends. It depends.
Ah, you were chasing your clients because you did not believe that you were going to attract the right one.
Of course, of
Ah,
course.
okay.
What you said, you had messages. Why don't you speak Polish? Why don't you speak English? I had the same. I continue receiving messages. Why don't you speak Polish? But I decided that I speak to Polish audience mainly. But now I'm in Spain, and I do want to attract a Spanish audience who can speak in English. And my superpower is multilingual. And I know that by speaking in English, I think it's very important to hear. By speaking in English, I'm not excluding anyone. I'm involving people who are open-minded in a way that even if they hear English and they say, oh, I wish I could speak like that, they will not be thinking, how dare you speak in English? They will be more inspired than offended by you switching to English. And this is my audience, people who are inspired to when they hear me speak in English.
So this is a very interesting topic. A lot of people come to me and when they want to do their brand, they want to serve everybody. But I always tell them, if you serve everybody, you're serving nobody. You really have to find one ideal client you want to serve. Who is your ideal client? And then you're going to attract similar clients anyway. Or people sometimes slightly different, but there will be something about you because you will be you. And at the end of the day, you have to like yourself. You have to feel like, okay, I spent my life in this brand, in this business, and I loved it. and I really loved what I was doing. And if you really enjoy speaking another language and meeting people from around the world, switching to English is a very good choice because you're going to attract these people. And at the end of the day, this is what matters. You have to feel good. So, Magda, there is this. I don't know if you have this too, but I have noticed that I have a different personality in different
Yes.
languages.
So
So how does this work for you and your
yeah,
clients?
this
Can you
is
see that?
yeah, this is exactly what I love using as an argument. Not only why you should switch to English if you feel like it, but what's the value in it and
Yeah.
how to do it. So I believe, and everyone who listens, try it on yourself. Every language has different energy because it was literally created in different culture among different people, maybe different weather. There is a different energy in a language that was created under the sun,
Totally,
you know.
totally.
And everyone I talk to who switches between languages, they have the same. I feel differently in different language. We have a different identity, and one argument to this is easier to talk about difficult things, even or things you've been through, and you want to share with your audience. Not everyone from your I know how it's, but you know what I mean, Anya? Like there is a bigger distance, a
Yes.
big audience, bigger stage when you
Yeah.
use language that is grow up in this language.
Yes.
How do you feel about
If
that?
you listen to my podcast in Polish and English, there is a slight difference in the topics and also the depth of intimacy.
Yeah,
I'm more intimate in English. I speak a lot about things I would never say in Polish. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I know that my family, most of my friends, maybe they won't listen to this English
yeah,
podcast. Maybe not most of my friends, because to be honest, it's like you. Most of my friends really speak English, so they really listen to this podcast. But sometimes I don't know. There is something I rather speak a foreign language. This is my preference, and yeah, this is why we are here. I wonder how many people leave us a comment want to speak in English or other language on Instagram, but maybe you are afraid that you're going to lose your sense of humor. Maybe you're going to lose your personality. But hey, Magda and me, we have this experience of gaining one, and maybe you're going to discover another part of yourself, the one that was hidden in you when you start speaking English, and maybe you're going to attract also different kind of people.
yeah.
And so, Magda, let's focus. Okay, so maybe let's focus on barriers still. What do you see in your clients? Because you work with non-native speakers,
Yes,
you help them switch. So, what kind of other barriers do they have in their head
yeah.
when they switch the audience to English, for example?
So one of the biggest thing is we identity. They don't know that, so they have a very natural fear themselves, literally, when they switch to an. Like imagine you've been working a level in Polish, in Spanish, Portuguese. You have your vocab, you know, people
Yeah.
know you by your position, your brand, and kind of, you're like you're very fast at that. And so when my clients switch, they have two biggest fears: losing the audience, obviously, because they're switching, as we said, but also losing themselves. Like when you travel and when you start living in a foreign country, that's the same. You don't have all the how can I say fame, using this word even, that's covering, like it's like you are dressed up in your achievements, in your brand, in your stories. No, you're naked. You are
Hmm.
starting fresh, and they are really afraid that people will not, because they kind of, and it's normal. It's nothing. It's how we grew up. I said so. I was preparing for this, and I wrote a sentence. I
Please.
say, therefore I am. What if I cannot say what I want? Who am I then?
Hmm.
So that's the biggest fear.
Okay, so what do you tell them? How
So
do you overcome this fear?
there is a big work to be done with your identity, meaning who are you when you have no names or diplomas to prove yourself with, to show this is me, I've done this and I've done that. So you basically have to go to your core and appreciate who you are as you are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think that the question, who am I? This
Yeah.
is if you this is like the biggest question that you have to ask yourself when you are starting your brand. And very often people, they don't use these hidden treasures
Yeah.
because they focus on their diplomas, they focus on their language, but they cannot focus on what they really have, like the strengths that they have apart from
Yeah.
diplomas, the language. And they might discover something about themselves and about their brand that would never come up in their native language.
Mhm. And second thing is because obviously someone could say like, okay, I am who I am, and what's next? Like this
Yeah,
fake, like this changes, and but second thing maybe might really speak to the audience today. Do this one activity. I would love for you to answer, and maybe Anya, you can do it as always. What makes you professional? What is part of you and your work? What are the tasks, the capacities, the skills that you use to help others?
apart from the language, you mean?
Yeah, so I give you an example. My friend, one of my clients, she was switching from being a guide, tourist guide actually,
Yeah,
from only in Spanish to English, and she was so afraid she cannot defend everything, she cannot
yeah,
talk about Alcazaba in a way she would like to. And then we literally wrote a list of
yeah,
the capacities that she needs to be a good tourist guide. And most of it was not the knowledge,
yeah,
the history of a castle. Most of it was the capacity to make people feel comfortable with her,
exactly.
for her to listen to them, to notice when someone felt excluded, to laugh, to make them feel welcome, to be like her own self with this soft energy and sunshine, smile as always she gives. And suddenly at the end of this activity, when I like to use scales sometimes, like when it's like, no, this is not enough, use a scale on a percentage, especially if you are service focused, how professional you are, maybe 15% max. That's a lot. Depends on the actual knowledge and language. Most of it, how professional you are, depends on how you listen, how much you love what you do, how people feel with you before you say anything.
Exactly. I think this is one of the biggest advantages you can have if you really start listening and you are more focused and less in your automatisms, and you discover that actually what is important is your client in the end. And to be honest, people really, I always tell my clients too that people really are not listening for mistakes unless they're crazy, but you don't want to work with this kind of people. You don't want to work with clients who are
Exactly.
thinking about your grammar. You want to work with people who really appreciate your personality and appreciate you for who you are and your quirkiness, even if it's your Slavic accent or French accent or any accent you have, can be something that really attracts people. And a lot of leaders and experts that I listen to on podcasts, they are non-native speakers, and this is
Exactly.
the best. And this is actually the best because, yeah, it's not about it. It's about the soul. It's about the person. It's about their experience, and it's about how comfortable we feel in our body. You can speak Polish. You can speak your mother tongue. You can speak your mother tongue, and you can be very uncomfortable with who you are put a mask, and this is an opportunity for me to actually take off the mask and start to really feel comfortable when you speak, even if you make mistakes, or even if this is not your mother tongue. So this is what we can practice then, because we are a beginner again.
Yeah,
Magda,
but
yeah.
one thing is that I keep saying that what is one of the most incredible things when my clients come to me to also to switch is there are examples when a woman comes to me and she identifies, sounds very big, but she identifies as just someone, only as someone who sells a product.
Exactly.
And she by rediscovering her own story, that obviously we look at to remember what she's been achieving, she started to switch to identity of a mentor, for example.
Exactly.
So that's a huge opportunity. And when you switch the language, that's why I love to say that a non-native speaker has the same skills like the best leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because the best leaders, they listen before they speak. And
Mm-hmm.
what we do, okay, let's make sure I understand. Best leaders, they ask to ask times if they understood properly, because they want the purpose to be clear. That's the same non-native speaker. The best leaders, they will not be afraid to say, gosh, I think I made a mistake. Can we check this again? This. And the last part, the best non-native speaker, the best leaders and the best speakers, they use a simple language.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The clearer you are, the better speaker you are, actually.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Magda. So let's maybe finish with giving our listeners one or two good reasons to switch. What would maybe your benefit or your client's benefit? What happened? Tell us a story that will make us all want to switch to non-native language.
Can I share just one story of one client? Is that
Absolutely.
because I like to having just sharing stories. So one of my clients, she arrived 6 months ago to work with me. She started to work with me, and she's in business analysis, and she was afraid even to lead meetings in English. And at the same time, she's been building her own brand because she's different. She has her own methods. And only after 6 months working with me, actually, she spoke on international conference, presenting as her own brand. And her biggest fear was to be too interesting and maybe even too emotional, because she allowed herself to use her own methods, which is introducing storytelling even as business analysts. And what she discovered as she was on the stage, that first of all, when she allowed herself to say like, okay, whatever, I don't care anymore. If I speak correctly, I'm just going to speak. Not only she started to speak in a flow, but literally the audience said to her afterwards, we heard you say it, because we noticed the shift. When you didn't care anymore, we heard you, like, this is finally the one we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Second, when she shared very bravely, courageously, her very intimate story, but had to do with her topic, people were telling her after the speech, wow, you, out of everyone, you are the only one we actually connected with, and we understood not only what you were saying, but the topic you brought. We learned from you. And at the end, she was telling me when I was finished, and in my head, I was like, poof, I've done it. Let me go home. She couldn't, because there were so many hands raised. Everyone wanted to ask her a question. Even though she was still afraid, but she was aware enough to act in a moment. And this is her new identity. Now she's international brand. She has done it before she felt totally ready, but she was ready enough to do it.
Of course, drop a podcast, drop a comment podcast if you feel like you're ready to start your podcast in English. Magda, thank you so much for this brave, amazing incentive, inspiration for people to switch to English and discover a new audience, maybe discover a new path, maybe open a new portal for the business.
Yes.
I You and me, we are also great examples of people who did it with success, and I'm really happy, and I'm really happy that you came here and you told us these stories, because stories change lives, and this is what we want to do here. So this is not for everyone, of course, but it might be just for you. Subscribe to You Get the Vocab on Spotify. This is a podcast for leaders. Rate us with 5 stars and help this episode to reach the person who needs to hear it, who needs Magda also. Keep rising, keep shining, leaders. Magda, how can we work with you? Can you maybe tell us just to finish?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, and you will. There's my website with my offer, but generally, how you can work with me? You can work with me on 3 months mentorship, where I will be guiding you to switch from your local brand to international brand.
Amazing, Magdalena. Thank you so much for being here, and see you
Okay.
tonight on So Business Masters program. Have a lovely day, people. Love from India. You see, well, this is how you connect from India. Amazing. See you soon, Magda.
Bye bye.
Bye.